Hello, epic viewers from around the multiverse. We're here to bask in unprecedented glory because today I'm going to be shedding light on the top reasons why restaurants are never worth eating at unless they are buffets. So why are buffets exception to the rule? With buffets, you pay a flat rate and you can eat all that you want in unlimited quantities for a fixed price. And with buffets, marginal benefit exceeds marginal cost when you get an additional unit of food. So in other words, when you go up to the counter or the chef to take an additional roll of California rolls, you're not going to have to pay an additional penny beyond what you already paid. However, buffets are the stark contrast. They're the antithetical to a typical restaurant. Because a typical restaurant, for each additional item of food you procure, you have to pay an additional charge, and that's just tagged on. So I apologize about that digression, but I already got that out of the way, so we can finally move on. So why are restaurants never worth eating at? Why should you desist, abstain, and eschew eating at restaurants? Why should you refrain from eating at restaurants? First off, restaurants command exorbitant, lofty, outrageous markups. You may have to pay 5 to 600% more for food than you otherwise would have if you procure the food from a big box retail store that sells groceries, such as Walmart or Myers or Target or Kmart. You get the point. So you're paying a premium price. Now, in addition to all this, in addition to paying an outrageous markup for food, you're going to have to also pay a copious amount of money in sales tax for food, and you're also going to have to pay a surcharge in the form of a tip given to the waiter or waitress for serving you your animal carcasses, animal secretions, or synthetic bastardized adulterated man-made products. This is what restaurants serve. People scarcely eat fruits and vegetables. They prefer to eat foods that ravage their DNA, and they don't care about their health. Unfortunately, they're neglectful or frugivores at heart, but that's another topic for another video. So you have to pay the sales tax, the tip, and the lofty markup for the food, and it's just inviable, to say the least, to pay a 500-600% markup for food when you could otherwise get homogeneous foods for 1/5 or 1/6 of the price via the grocery store or a big box retail store that sells food products. So let's move on. That's reason number one. It's out of the way. What's the second reason? Well, the opportunity cost of going out is enormous. You're depleting your sacrosanct, finite, precious, invaluable, indispensable, non-replenishable time driving to get food, waiting for a table, waiting on the chef to prepare your food, and you're forgoing the opportunity to work during this time period. So during the interim, before you receive your food, you're exhausting your precious time and you're not able to generate revenue at that juncture. So it creates a dire issue. I mean, if you're waiting 2 hours from the time you leave the house to the time you receive your food at the restaurant, you just lost 2 hours of work, and then you have to drive back too. So it's just a hassle, and it's just expensive when you look at all the time you waste commuting to the restaurant, waiting for a table, waiting for the chef for your food, waiting for the waiter to serve you your food. And nothing is really expedited at those restaurants because they're always understaffed, and they don't care how long their customers wait. So you're just losing a myriad of revenue in the long haul. You may think, oh, it's no big deal if you waste 3 hours just waiting and driving to get to a restaurant, but it is a big deal because when you factor in all these time windows, they aggregate together to create thousands of hours that you've just exhausted driving and waiting in line and sitting at a table, not even eating anything, but just waiting for food. So it's a recipe for destitution when you're not working and when you're unable to generate revenue. Another issue, I guess the third and final issue, is that these restaurants are unsanitary, and I've seen them violate food code regulations firsthand. When I worked at a restaurant when I was 16, almost a decade and a half ago, I witnessed the staff pick food off the floor and put it back on the plate. Did anything adverse transpire? No, but unbeknownstly, the customer was eating food from the floor that was contaminated and laced with bacteria. Now, I'm sure that the repercussions of consuming the bacteria don't outweigh the repercussions of consuming animal secretions. I remember the product being a grilled cheese sandwich. But irrespective of what it is, be it a grilled cheese sandwich or something else, they shouldn't be picking food off the floor and putting it back onto the consumer's plate to maximize their profits. I mean, it's unsanitary. It's a flagrant violation of the food code, and it's just appalling and pitiful that they're taking money from someone else whilst serving them contaminated food. So, have you seen Kitchen Nightmares? Have you seen Insects in Restaurants? Then you could definitely resonate with me and understand what I'm insinuating here. Restaurants are more than likely unsanitary, contaminated, tainted, and are bastions for bacteria infestations and health code violations as they serve customers contaminated foods that they should have otherwise discarded and refrain from serving. So just watch Kitchen Nightmares if you're just puzzled and unable to understand what I'm referring to. So, to recapitulate, the top 3 reasons why restaurants are never worth eating at encompass the monetary costs appertaining to eating at restaurants, the opportunity costs appertaining to driving to restaurants, waiting in line, and waiting for the chef to serve you your food, and also the fact that the restaurants constantly encroach on food code regulations and they're just unsanitary and serve foods, tainted foods. Now, this is not applicable to all restaurants. I'm sure some restaurants try to keep their facilities immaculate and try to abide by food code regulations and try to follow a business model conducive to providing customers with non-contaminated sanitary foods. But the primary objective of businesses is to maximize their profits. So if they can serve customers contaminated food for a lower price, then they'll likely be inclined to do so, unfortunately. So out of principle, I won't eat out at restaurants. They charge too much. The food is likely tainted, and I lose too much money driving to and from the restaurant and not being able to work while waiting at the restaurant and driving to the restaurant and waiting for the chef to serve me my food. So there's no incentive to ever eat at a restaurant, only eat at buffets, even if I was about to say, actually, never mind. Yeah, if the food is tainted, you should never eat it. But people still eat tainted foods because they just don't care about their health or not mindful about their health, and they just rather shove anything into their gullet than refrain from eating even for a couple hours, even though it's easy to eat for only 2 to 3 days per week, or only 2 to 3 meals per week. So, I hope that you found this video to be fascinating and insightful. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Goodbye.